Ladies and gentlemen, today's video is my worst rebuild ever. And it starts by me introducing you to the worst team in Northern Ireland, PSNI, or the Police Service of Northern Ireland. Yep, I am going to be managing a police team today. PSNI were founded in 1956 and play their football in the third tier of Northern Irish football, which is the 160th ranked league in Europe. And for context, the National League North and South is ranked 153rd. So today, we're going to have some work to do. The goal of today's video is to try and take over this part-time club and win them a national title within 10 seasons. So if you do like the 10-year rebuilds, don't forget to drop a like on today's video and drop a comment down there whilst you're at it, because it all helps the YouTube algorithm. And if you are picking up the content for the first time ever, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because over 70% of you, yes, it's a lot, 70% of you are not subscribed to the channel, but you're watching the content. Definitely helps me out. Anyway, let's get into season number 1 with PSNI. At the start of this save, PSNI are a semi-professional club sharing their stadium with Queen's University in Belfast. Our current star player is midfielder Johnny Wilson, who looks decent for the level. However, he, like everybody else at the club, is on an amateur contract, meaning he can walk away from the club at any time if anyone else wants to sign him. I don't want to rock the boat tactics wise, so I will be going for a tried and tested 4-2-3-1 tactic, and this is how the team looks going into season number 1. At this level, there are 5 competitions that we are part of, so the fixture list is going to be a heavy one this year. But my main goal will be survival in the league, as we are one of 3 teams at 150-1 and expecting to be fighting to survive relegation. And if that happens, then the video's over, because Football Manager do not have the league below. So there's some jeopardy here. For me, this season was all about our league performance, and we got off to a shocking start, suffering a 3-1 defeat at home in our first game of the season. However, after that result, we did start to get things back on track, winning our next 5 games on the spin. Key man for us this season was striker Jake Moore, as he bagged 23 goals in 41 appearances this season in all competitions, and to be fair to him, his attributes aren't too bad. A massive shout out to both our fullbacks, who topped our assist charts with a huge 17 assists each, which definitely cannot be sniffed at. Our second half of the campaign was pretty solid, winning a majority of our games, with all 3 of our losses coming away from home. And our form was so good that we managed to secure the league title in season 1 with a total of 58 points. But our success didn't stop there, because we actually won another trophy in our first season at the club. We actually progressed to the final of the Steel and Sons Cup, where we took on Oxford's Sunnyside, which I thought was the daycare from Toy Story.
Welcome to Sunnyside, folks.
But this was a cup final against an amateur non-league team, so it was no shock that we dominated this one from start to finish, winning the game 4-1 on the day to secure 2 trophies in this season. Other cup competitions didn't exactly go swimmingly, with us getting bounced in the first rounds of the Northern Irish Cup and the League Cup. We did make it to the semi-finals of the Intermediate Cup, but suffered a 3-1 defeat at home to Wraithfitherland Rangers, the team that finished 5th in our league. But this means it is goals achieved for the season, getting promotion and working our way up the tiers of football in Northern Ireland. As you would expect at any semi-professional club, the turnover in players was quite high over the summer. We released a whopping 10 players from the club that I didn't think were ready to make the step up. But that did mean another 10 new faces came through the door to fill in those gaps in the squad, all on loan, because we are skint. Honestly, we have no money whatsoever at this club. The best of these, in my opinion, is goalkeeper Ryan Brown, who arrives for the season from Larne. However, even with all of these loan signings, our key man this season is midfielder Owen Madine, who is pretty well rounded to play in the middle of the park and is ready to take the league by storm, aged just 20. This is the best 11 that we can field right now, with a maximum of 5 loanees helping us make up the numbers. But the key problem here is the finances at the club, as we have a wage budget for the squad of £740 a week, which I think is the tightest budget I've ever had in one of these videos. On the field, we have just 4 competitions this year, but it is expected to be a rough campaign for us, as in the league we are 250 to 1 to win the league title, with the next team closest to us being Newington with odds of 50 to 1. So we're expected to get pumped, and I just want to stay in this division. We continue to have a rough time in the domestic cup competitions, getting bounced in the first round of the County Antrim Shield by Premiership side Glentoran, and in the second round of the League Cup by Ballina United, who to my surprise went on to win the competition. So I'm basically claiming that if we'd have beaten them, we'd have gone on to lift the trophy. But a competition that we did perform above expectations this season was the Northern Irish Cup. We made it all the way to the semi-final stage with 1-0 wins against the likes of Premiership sides Linfield and Cliftonville. In the semis, we faced fellow Championship side Newry City, and we instantly went a goal down, but were able to pull one back just before half-time through winger Sam Morrow. However, the opposition's quality shone through, and Del Gorman scored the decisive goal of the game on the hour mark. But as you can tell from this cup run, we were actually able to beat teams in divisions above us this season, so could we do that kind of thing on a weekly basis and do well in the league as well? Well, we had an interesting start to the season, seemingly being able to win our games on the road, but struggling a lot more at home. However, for a newly promoted side that was expected to get battered, I will definitely take this run of form. Our key man this season was online striker Kenny Zimenez, who was lethal in front of goal, scoring 24 goals in 37 games in all competitions. Another standout player for us this season was winger Sam Morrow, who provided us with 15 goals and 15 assists from the right wing, and is now wanted, so we're going to have to try and hold on to him this summer. That patchy early season form continued into 2025, with us either winning games or losing them by a single goal. But we did finish the regular part of the season with 4 wins on the spin that saw us enter the Championship group for the second phase of the season. And we were even impressive here, picking up positive results, but were never in any danger of challenging Portadown at the top of the league. We finished the season in 3rd, which is well above where I expected us to be at this point, and will be a nice platform for us to build on for next year. However, money is pretty tight here, as you would expect, so we're going to have to sign loads of pay as you play deals again this summer. The summer window moving into Season 3 was a little bit more tame than last year in terms of players leaving on free transfers, as we just lost Aaron McFarlane, which isn't a huge loss for the club. However, on the incoming side of things, we added another 11 players to the squad, which means we're basically bursting at the seams, but we do have several key options that we can turn to. The best players at the club are in our wide players in Alexandre Machado and Sam Morrow, but the latter is under a transfer offer for Newington, so I expect him to leave in the coming weeks. As things stand, this is how we're shaping up to move into the first game of the season, with our obvious strength being in those wide areas. So if we lose either of those lads, I could be in trouble. The fixture list is going to be a busy one yet again for us this year, and according to the media, we've not made the team any better, and they are expecting us to struggle for yet another season. Before I get into the season recap, I have to tell you, disaster struck, and we lost one of our wingers as Sam Morrow left the club. He decided that fellow Championship side Institute would be his best option for his career, and left the club on a free transfer after just 2 games this season. As you can expect, that rocked us a bit, losing our best player, and when you look at our schedule, you can really see that we are a worse side this time around. Defeats were much more frequent, and cup exits were a standard in the early rounds. The only silver lining for us this season was that young fullback Eamon Thompson, who was our best player in such a down year, picking up our Player of the Season award whilst topping our assist charts from fullback. But I'm going to say that our Player of the Season being a defender in every game when we were getting battered probably goes to show how we were doing this time around. So much so that things didn't improve throughout the remainder of the season, and we found ourselves in the relegation group. Despite seemingly turning a corner here, we still had to play in a promotion relegation playoff against Warren Point from the league below. We had to travel for the first leg, and this one was a bit of a goal fest, with goals flying in for both sides, but we ended up losing the game 5-4. But I thought we were travelling home for the second leg, so we'd be able to get the job done. However, Warren Point extended their aggregate advantage early on, and we kind of just whimpered out the game to see relegation confirmed. And this is the first time that this has actually happened to me in FM24. This is the first time that I've been relegated in one of these videos, so it's kind of a big deal for me. However, these 2 seasons at a higher level have been really good for the club's coffers, as we actually have the biggest transfer budget that we've had so far. So I'm hoping that we can bounce back immediately next year. This summer saw a little bit of a change in strategy in our approach in terms of recruitment, as I tried to actually sign players rather than getting players in on loan. So much so that we brought in 20 new players to the club, but at least they're all ours now. Looking at the level of talent in the squad, we are better than we have ever been, especially at the top end of the field, even if we are lacking a touch defensively. I guess we're just going to have to outscore everyone that we play. We're back in the Intermediate League this season along with 5 other cup competitions, but I'll be looking to get back into the Northern Irish second tier at the first time of asking. However, despite being one of the relegated sides, we're not fancied for the title in the slightest. For me, this season was all about getting that promotion back into the second tier, so that is where I threw all of my effort. Cup competitions were not a priority for us, as we saw pretty early exits from almost all of the cups this year. One cup that we were able to progress in was the County Antrim Shield, where we had a great run through to the final, where we faced Premiership side Ballymena United. The game itself was dull as dishwater and resulted in a penalty shootout for all the marbles. We got off to a great start by saving the first penalty in the shootout, but after that, the spot kicks were hit in the back of the net for both sides. Then, our goalkeeper Jonah McGill pulled out his second save of the shootout to see us crown champions and pick up another piece of silverware. But it was all about the league, and we started like a house on fire, winning 14 of our opening 16 games going into 2027. This year saw the emergence of several new faces to guide PSNI into a new era, as Owen Irwin was the club's top goal scorer, bagging 20 goals in 33 appearances in all competitions, which isn't bad for an 18-year-old in his debut season. After the turn of the year, we continued to dominate the competition, even going unbeaten to close out the season to see us top the league with 66 points, pipping Harland and Wolf Welders to the title. What on earth are some of the names of some of these clubs in Northern Ireland? Our wage budget is looking healthy as well going into the halfway season of this rebuild, so there is still plenty of work for us to do. Season 5 sees us return to the Championship in Northern Ireland, and I am determined to prove that my relegation in this division 2 years ago was just an off thing, and we're going to come back even stronger. Squad turnover continues to be the name of the game over the summer, as we look to bounce back with a bang. 8 free transfers came into the team along with 5 loans, and we are ready to cook. Key additions for us are new-gen right-back Curtis Gormley and defensive midfielder Joey Jones, who look levels above what we have had before. The best of our loan signings is goalkeeper Michael Downey, who comes in for the season from Linfield, and it's his star rating along with Gormley's is making the rest of our best 11 look a little bit worse than it actually is. I'm really happy with the squad that we've been able to assemble on a bit of a shoestring, but the proof will be in the pudding as we get into the league action. And we are expected to struggle this season, which will come as no shock, as we have the worst odds we've ever had in the league so far. Our return to the Championship started really well, even after suffering an opening day defeat at the hands of Newington. After that result, we strung together a run of 5 games without defeat, but then our form fell off a cliff with a run of 5 losses in a row. But I sadly do think that is going to be our level this season. A late addition to the squad was former Port Stewart striker Joshua Bailey, and he turned out to be our top goal scorer this season, as in all competitions he got 25 goals in 42 games. So he was definitely worth it on his massive £55 a week salary. In January, we made some cuts to the squad, seemingly shipping off some deadwood, which massively improved the dynamic of our squad, and we all know how important that is in this year's Football Manager, and by doing that, we started to see an upturn in our results. We finished the season with a flourish of 9 wins in the last 11 games before the title and relegation split. And that was enough to keep us safe for the season, despite losing 4 of our 5 games after the split. This year we finished in 8th, but we now need to use that as a foundation to build on and not suffer relegation again in the following season. Our wage budget has now hit a save high of £2,300 a week for the upcoming year, so let's get to work. However, despite having a massive budget, our funds are still pretty tight, so we had to dip back into the loan market for this season. 7 players came into the club over the summer, with 6 of those being on loan. However, during this season, we are going to focus some of our energy on some of the younger players at the club, making sure that they get game time to hopefully be stars for us over the coming season. Curtis Gormley, David Martin and Gaichal Banza will be pinned into these positions for the season as we begin our assault on the championship. We have the same 4 competitions on our schedule this year, and the board are expecting us to struggle once again in the league. But these odds are better than we've ever had before, so we're going to have to see what we can do. Because I would love to be in that championship group come the end of the season and avoid that relegation scrap altogether. Season 6 was a real coming of age for a majority of players in our squad because we were actually pretty darn fantastic for a majority of it. After winning our first game of the season 4-1, we went on a mixed run to kick off the campaign, but then settled into a bit more of a rhythm as we moved into October. From that moment, we were largely impressive with Joshua Bailey, who was our top goal scorer at the club this season as he banked 24 goals in 43 games. We also had right back Curtis Gormley have a great season after being pinned into his position as he provided 14 assists and was our highest ranked player. As we moved into the festive period, we proved very difficult to beat while scoring a hatful of goals, which allowed us to really power up the league table. Those results saw us claim a spot in the championship group and continue to be dominant, only suffering 1 defeat in those 5 games. Jack Hastings scored the only goal of the game in our last fixture of the year to see us secure all 3 points there. And that goal turned out to be massive for us, as those 3 points saw us win the league title on goal difference. Both ourselves and Derby finished the year on 74 points, but that single goal difference point sees us avoid a promotion playoff and secure that automatic promotion to the Sports Direct Premiership. Away from the league, we suffered early defeats in a majority of the cup competitions, but I'm hoping our time for cups will come at a later point in this save. Promotion will be huge for us as we are now going to be in the top flight of Northern Ireland, but we are still going to be a semi-professional club. And whilst we will be staying semi-pro, I also have no transfer funds to work with as the club is somehow currently in debt. However, our wage budget has doubled, which doesn't make sense to me, so I guess it's time to dive into the free transfer market. As we moved into the Premiership for the first time, our squad saw some huge turnover as a total of 22 new players came into the team. And we even spent some money on a player for our first time in this rebuild, as we spent a whopping 6.75k to bring in Kerr Honeyman to be the new anchor in our midfield. I also have to show you that our new centre forward Robert Thompson, who looks like he could be a real monster at this level, having come through the youth ranks at Aston Villa. We have some real balance in this team this season, but no real superstars, and that is most likely to do with the age of this squad. We have the youngest squad going into our debut season in the Premiership, and that could probably have something to do with our 1,000 to 1 odds to win the title. But we are now where we want to be, playing with the big boys this season. We kicked off Season 7 like a house on fire, winning our first 6 games on the spin whilst playing some exceptional football. We even managed to pick up all 3 points against the likes of Cliftonville on the road and 2026-27 title winners Glentoran at home. But after those big results, we did start to falter a little bit and show our true level and where we will probably end up this season. However, I was correct about striker Robert Thompson, as he was the top goalscorer for the club with 18 goals in his debut season, but we also had wide man Ross Weldon have a solid year for us on that right hand side, picking up the award for our highest average rating while scoring 8 goals, providing 7 assists in all competitions. After the turn of the year, we continued to find 3 points hard to come by, but we did manage to win against the lower ranked teams within the division, meaning that we did fall into that relegation group, but we were never really at danger of getting relegated ourselves. We won 3 of the 5 games in the relegation group, which somehow saw us have a fixture to be part of the European qualification segment for the league. It was Glentoran that we had to face in this fixture, and it was going to be a tough ask as the boys boys just ran out of steam towards the end of the season, losing the game 3-1 to see no European football on the cards for next season. But that would be nice if we were able to get that at some point in this save. We actually finished the season 7th in the table, and I will definitely take that as our first season in the Premiership, and this will be something to build on next year. Away from the league, we had stinkers in the lower profile cup, seeing early round exits, but we did manage to make it to the final of the Northern Irish Cup, but it was Glenavon who put us away in this one with a 1-0 defeat. However, you really can see that we are turning a corner and starting to make progress finally. Being in the top flight has enabled us to sort out our financial situation, as the club is no longer in debt, but we're not exactly flush with cash. We have a transfer budget of 8.5k and a small bump in our wage budget, so it's time for me to try my best Harry Redknapp impression and get wheeling and dealing. Over the summer, we lost one of our very own youth products as Goichal Banza decided to leave on a free, joining Glentoran. This was a bit of a sad moment for us because he actually was a player who came through our own youth intake, but he's going to play for one of our rivals in the league. But this will be something that I will not forget. However, we had yet another huge turnover of players, as you'd expect for a semi-pro side, as 16 new players arrived at the team this summer. The best of which was young Welsh winger Stephen Jones, who arrives at the team with some great physicals that could be huge for us this season. We also signed former Larne defender James Harmon, who is a huge improvement for us in that centre-back position. We're also trying to bring in 3 additional players on free transfers, but we still have to get their contracts over the line. But going into the first game of the season, this is how we'll look, and we are well balanced throughout the squad, with our defence being the best bit of the bunch. We still have the same 4 competitions on the schedule this year, but we have reduced our pre-season title odds down to 900 to 1. But this is our year to make a name for ourselves. It seems like cup competitions aren't going to be our thing in this save, as we suffered early exits yet again at the hands of Bangor and Haaland and Wolf Welders. But in the league, it took a long time for our 16 players to settle into the club, which resulted in a bit of a patchy start to the season. And that goes to show how important tactical familiarity is, ladies and gents. Make sure your players are training the positions and the roles that you want them to play. However, as we moved into the festive period, things did start to turn around for us. Forward Giovanni Verhoeven had a great season for us as he scored 22 goals in 38 Premiership games, which actually saw him finish 3rd in the Golden Boot race. After the turn of the year, we really started going hell for leather, winning more games than anything else to see us finish the season strong. So much so that we made our way into the Championship group and even into the European playoff place for a 2nd season in a row. This season we took on Glenavon, but this year we were at home and proved to be incredibly clinical in front of goal, scoring 3 of our 5 shots on target to move into the final. Here we had to take on Linfield, where if we won the game, we would be playing in a continental competition in season number 9. Ryan Brunt got the home side off to a great start as he scored in the first 4 minutes, but then our main man Giovanni pulled us level in the second half, heading home at the far post. Extra time couldn't separate the two sides, meaning we would have a penalty shootout for all the marbles. Win, and we were in the Conference League. Linfield took the first penalty of the shootout, but our goalkeeper Mark Matthews was able to guess right and make a great save to get us off to an outstanding start. After that, both sides hit the back of the net with their spot kicks, meaning we won the shootout and will be representing Northern Ireland in Europe next season. But even with that being the case, we still don't have a huge increase in our transfer funds, as we have 12.5k in the transfer budget, but we are currently overspending on our wage budget, so that could be a bit of a problem. So here we are, guys, we are going into season number 9 and we are about to take the Police Service of Northern Ireland into Europe this season. We've already played some of the qualification games for the Conference League and we've managed to defeat a team from Montenegro and a team from Cyprus, but we now have the big task of taking on Greek giants Olympiakos in the 3rd qualification round, which is going to be a bit of a ridiculous ask considering we are still a semi-professional team. We had to be strategic with the players that we went after over this summer, as we still cannot offer full-time contracts to anyone. 7 players came into the club, with us shuffling the pack a little bit in this window, window, with the best of them being Icelandic defensive midfielder, whose name I'm not even going to attempt to say. If anyone can tell me down in the comments how to pronounce this properly, phonetically going through the name, I would be very, very grateful, because I don't even know where to start. I'm not even going to try. We also picked up former Middlesbrough youth striker Etienne Mikhalif, who has all the attributes to be a top goal scorer in Sky Bet League 1 in England, so should be able to cause some damage for us here this year. Looking at our best 11, we have an obvious problem in that cam spot, but we are trying to bring in a player from Glentoran on loan for the season that would help fix that issue. My board are still expecting me to face relegation this season, but I want to start pushing towards the top of the league, but according to the media, we are still the worst team in the division. Guys, I have to say, season number 9 saw the craziest tie in European football because we actually somehow made it past Olympiacos. We stunned them at the first game at home, winning 2-1 on the night with goals from James Harmon and Etienne Mikhalif. Then the second leg was a bit of a goal fest in Athens, with both sides sharing a 3-3 draw to see us advance with a narrow 5-4 aggregate victory. Meaning we had one final tie to win and make it through to the Conference League proper, and we had to take on Swedish side Elfsborg. Things started positive for us yet again, winning the game at home by a single goal, but this time through Jonathan Cousins. But this time we couldn't hold on in the second leg, as we were reduced to 10 men on the half-hour mark as Sonny Parks received a straight red card. And then with a man down, the Swedish side were able to assert themselves, scoring twice in the second half to see us fall at the final hurdle and miss out on a massive payday for the club. But that did mean that we made it into a European competition, and the only way for us to get back there next season was to do well in the league. Our start to the season was impressive, going unbeaten for the first 7 games of the year. It really seemed like we turned a corner this year, as we were picking up 3 points more often again than we weren't. This was largely down to the clinical performances of Etienne Mikhalif, who was a freak this season, not only scoring 28 goals, but providing us with 18 assists as well, making 46 goal contributions in 45 appearances. So he smashed it. It was also a huge year for left-back Clement Tessier, who made it into his 3rd season at the club, but managed to get 22 assists from that left-back spot and has developed into a great player for the level. As we moved into 2032, we continued to be exceptional and made it into the championship group with ease. Here we managed to win 3 of the 5 matches to climb up to our highest ever finish, as we secured 2nd in the league, meaning we've made it into the Conference League qualifiers yet again. And to be fair, we're only 3 points behind the league winners Glenavon, so I think this is something that we could catch up over in our final season. But our success in season 9 didn't stop there. We advanced all the way through to the final of the Northern Irish Cup, where we had to face 4-time league champions Larne in the final at Windsor Park. However, there was still a clear gap in ability here on the big stage, as several of our players didn't turn up in the game, resulting us in taking a 3-0 beating on the day. But I never thought that I would have the opportunity to take the police service of Northern Ireland into Europe, so I will take it, even if it is only the Conference League. I'm going to have one last stab at this to see if we can bag ourselves a league title and complete our objective for this save. And we have the largest transfer budget of the save so far, as I have £1.4 million. I wonder if this is the moment that the club turns professional. Spoiler alert for those of you who are still watching, this wasn't the year that the club decided to turn professional, and I have a 100% reject ratio with our current board, which is nice after everything that I've done for them, and the fact that I'm a club icon at this point. It was the club's semi-pro status that was still preventing me from attracting the top talent into our ranks, but we did have a total of 19 players join the club, even spending a whopping £300,000 on players. The players that we actually paid for at this point were former Peterborough winger Jack Melham, who cost us 100k, former Everton trainee George Ackroyd for 94k, and former Doncaster goalkeeper transfer Gary Breslin for 83k. All of those final additions gave us the strongest team we've had to date, so we are ready for one final push in the Sports Direct Premiership. However, sadly, this season we won't have that distraction of Europe because, unfortunately, we've already been knocked out of the competition. We had to face a team from Kosovo in the first qualifying round and got off to a great start, winning the game 4-1 at home after a dominant performance. But then in the second leg, we completely fell apart, conceding 6 goals away from home without reply to see us crash disappointingly out of the competition. So our focus will be on the league this year, and we've got our best odds ever as we're predicted to finish in 9th with title odds of 50-1. If you are still watching the video at this point, I just want to say thank you so much. I know this is going to be a long one, and if you are still here, comment the letters PSNI, Police Service of Northern Ireland, down below so that I know that you individually are still here at this point in the video, because it's probably going to be over 30 minutes in at this point. Domestically, we had a rough start to our season in season number 10, only picking up our first win of the year in our 4th game. But as we moved into September, we started to become much more consistent and even went unbeaten through the month of October. This season, we finally added the attacking midfielder that we needed in former Crystal Palace man Leon Barker, who took over this team this season, being our highest rated player and our top goal scorer. Last year was also a breakout season for Clement Tessier, and the young fullback built on it again this time around, being our assist leader with 18 in all competitions from the left back position. The second half of the season was huge for us as we almost went unbeaten from January 2033 through to the Championship group. Once there, we won 4 of our games with our only defeat coming away to Glentoran. And sadly, that defeat was enough to see us miss out on the title for a 2nd season in a row. This year we finished in 2nd again, 3 points behind eventual winners Larne. And we had a year of near misses in the domestic cup competitions as well, getting to 2 semi-finals, but this year is the end of the road for us with the Police Service of Northern Ireland. I had one final attempt to turn the club professional, but that was again rejected by the board for a 3rd time. But that doesn't stop you taking over this challenge, as the club is now in a much better state financially, with 770k to spend in the transfer budget and a 70% increase in the wage budget. And you can do just that by carrying on the save. I put every save for every single rebuild that we do over on my Patreon for you to get and carry on the journey. And if you like this kind of thing, me rebuilding some of the worst teams in nations, check out the video that's going to pop up now. This is me attempting this exact same challenge, but based in Scotland.